In the autumn of 1888, London was a city filled with fog, gas lamps, and secrets. In the district of Whitechapel, people moved quickly through narrow streets, always looking over their shoulders. Crime was common, and fear was everywhere. During this time, a young detective named Arthur Bennett was assigned to his first major case. Arthur was 27 years old, intelligent, observant, and determined to prove himself. He worked under Inspector Gray at Scotland Yard, who was known for solving difficult cases. One cold morning, Arthur was called to a disturbing scene near a small alley. A man had been found unconscious, with no clear signs of struggle. However, something unusual caught Arthur's attention. Near the victim's hand was a small silver pocket watch, broken and stopped at exactly 3:15. Inspector Gray arrived shortly after and examined the scene. "Probably a robbery gone wrong," he said. But Arthur was not convinced. The victim still had his wallet and valuables. Nothing appeared stolen. That evening, Arthur studied similar reports from the past month. 3 other cases had been reported in different parts of Whitechapel. Each victim had been found unconscious, and each time a broken watch had been left nearby. The time on every watch was different, but all watches were damaged in the same strange way. Arthur felt this was not random. It was a pattern. The next day, Arthur visited the families of the victims. Most could not provide useful information. However, one witness mentioned seeing a tall man wearing a dark coat and a hat near one of the crime scenes. The man never spoke but always stood still before disappearing into the fog. Arthur began to suspect that these incidents were connected. He returned to Scotland Yard and requested permission to investigate further. Inspector Gray was skeptical but allowed him to continue. Arthur decided to patrol Whitechapel at night. The streets were even more unsettling after dark. Shadows stretched across the walls and every sound echoed strangely. One night, while walking near the docks, Arthur noticed a figure standing beneath a gas lamp. The man wore a long coat and a hat, just as the witness had described. Arthur approached slowly. "Excuse me," he called. The figure did not respond. Instead, the man turned and walked into the fog. Arthur followed carefully, but the man moved quickly and silently, always staying just out of reach. After several minutes, the figure disappeared completely. Arthur returned to his office frustrated but more determined than ever. He began studying the broken watches more carefully. A clockmaker confirmed something important. All the watches were part of a rare set, sold only to wealthy clients. This suggested the victims were not random people. They were connected through something unknown. Arthur cross-referenced the names and discovered something surprising. All victims had once worked for the same shipping company 10 years earlier. That company had closed suddenly after a financial scandal, and many records were lost. Arthur believed this was the key to the mystery. He visited the old shipping warehouse, now abandoned and falling apart. Inside, he found dust-covered documents scattered across the floor. As he searched, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, but saw nothing. Suddenly, a voice spoke from the darkness. "You should not be here." Arthur stepped back, holding his lantern. A man slowly emerged from the shadows. He was the same figure Arthur had seen in the streets. "Who are you?" Arthur asked firmly. The man remained silent for a moment. Then he said, "I am the one who remembers what they tried to forget." Arthur demanded answers. The man explained that years ago, the shipping company had been involved in illegal activities. The workers who were now victims had discovered the truth, but instead of reporting it, they stayed silent and allowed innocent people to suffer. The mysterious man believed justice had never been served. "So you were punishing them?" Arthur asked. The man did not deny it. "I am reminding them of what they did." Arthur realized the broken watches were not random. Each watch represented a moment of guilt from their past. The man was targeting them one by one. Arthur knew he had to stop him, but he also understood the deeper truth behind the case. The victims were not completely innocent. The next night, Arthur set a trap in the same alley where the first victim had been found. He waited silently in the fog. Hours passed before the figure appeared. Arthur stepped forward. "It is over," he said. The man stopped. For the first time, he seemed uncertain. "You cannot judge them all," Arthur continued. "That is not justice." The man hesitated. Arthur used the moment to convince him that revenge would not fix the past. It would only create more suffering. Slowly, the man lowered his head. The tension in the air faded. Later, he was taken into custody, though many details of the case were never fully recorded. Some officers believed he was simply a troubled man. Others believed he knew too much about the hidden crimes of the past. Arthur's report was accepted, but parts of it were classified. The case officially closed as solved. However, Arthur never forgot the shadowy figure in the fog. Years later, he often thought about the thin line between justice and revenge. In Victorian London, truth was rarely simple, and even a solved mystery could leave behind unanswered questions. Arthur continued his career as a detective, but he always remembered his first case in Whitechapel. It taught him that every crime has a story behind it, and sometimes the greatest mystery is not who committed the crime, but why it was ever committed at all. And in the fog of London nights, he sometimes wondered if the man was truly a criminal, or something else entirely watching over the city's hidden sins.